F industry
Well,
standards.
of course. Yeah, 100%. And that's why I said, fine, we can do whatever. And, I didn't even have the cover yet because I didn't have word count. I didn't have, so I was like, so you're giving me exactly 1 month to format, run through, make sure your edits are cool, get a cover started, it's exactly 1 month. It's like there's no time to arc. There's no time to,
Dude, there's no time.
promo, anything.
No.
Like a month beginning to end.
Because you didn't
And
even have a cover designed yet.
no, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a manuscript. That infuriated me.
I'm gonna try to act like I'm a little ticked about it, to be honest. Because she's talented,
Oh,
but I
super talented.
think
Yeah.
she's biting off more than she can chew. And
Well, so have you heard the talk of the town that you need the magic 10 number, 10 books. An indie artist
I've heard,
needs 10.
yeah,
You've heard
I've
that
heard,
though. You've heard the talk.
Yeah, I've heard
She
the
is
more books better
right.
talk.
She is in that camp 100%.
So she's trying to publish as much as
Right.
possible.
So she's trying to pump out, so
It's
that's
a
why
lie.
she did. Are you an author? Are you thinking about writing your first book? Are you a plotter or a pantser? Or are you asking yourself what the F that even means? Are you a seasoned pro? Or are you just getting started? Are you completely lost when it comes to everything writing, editing, formatting, cover design, publishing, etc.? Do you have any friends? Do you want a couple? Well, you've got them right here, where a best-selling author and an award-winning author come together every week and talk writing. We won't sugarcoat it. We won't piss on you and tell you that it's raining. We're just here to talk writing, and we want you to know that you're not alone.
And I totally respect the whole, more books the merrier, because it increases
absolutely.
your algorithm. Like, I know we've discussed that, but quality over quantity.
Right.
And I will 100% sit here and tell you right now, I feel like it's her weakest book. It's lacking something, and it's probably because it's been rushed out.
Yeah. But I don't understand. I don't understand the rush. Doing podcasts, if you're doing book reviews, or if you're doing whatever, if you're doing like a weekly thing or a monthly thing, a newsletter, those can be rushed. Because that's not, that's whatever. It's whatever. That is like almost a medium. That's almost it doesn't matter whether it's quality or quantity, because you need both.
Right.
But with a freaking book, when it's written by author, blah, blah, blah.
Your name is on it.
Dude, that needs to be 100 every time.
I could not agree more with you. That is my biggest fear is this book rushed? Or is this story rushed? And if it's rushed, is it doing it justice? Is it the best it can be? Like, dude, that stuff haunts me.
Yeah.
And so it's mind-boggling to me that people would just jump in and try to rush a massive story. Like I told you, the whole second book has been rushed. She's trying to rush the release.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going through the proof line edit right now, and I'm like, this is I'm like, I don't even care.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, no, it's
I don't get it. Yeah,
I don't get it either.
It irks me, man.
It really does irk me.
Yeah, the level of ish that is happening right now is just.
It feels a little unhinged, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little much. People are so out there and I think it's the next evolution from social media. Social media was like, gotta get followers. I have to get followers. Do everything the algorithm says. I have to get. And, I think this is just the next iteration is like, I've got to get readers. I've got to get people to buy my book. I've got to get, it's like, yes, you do, but you can't follow social media standards for getting a lifelong reader, for getting a fan. That's totally different.
It's a different ball game. It's a different burp. It's a different strategy. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, dude. I just don't get it, man. I just do not get it. I don't understand it.
I feel like, and I don't know if you've had this experience or exposure or through the grapevine, but I feel like people are a little ungrateful about getting readers. Like they see it as a number, and they don't. They're not appreciative of the fact that some random stranger across the world stumbled on your book through some crazy social media grapevine, and was like, "I'm going to give it a try." Right now, it's all about the number. How many readers can I get? And I'm like, I know we all want the $1 million deal, right? That's
Right.
duh.
Right.
That would be
Right.
fantastic. But it
It
doesn't
would
work
be,
that way.
but it literally is less than 1%
Yeah.
of authors that get
Yeah.
a big deal.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, if you're talking less than 1% of however, I can't remember the number, but the number is staggering of authors. And I'm not talking authors, I'm talking about legit authors,
Yeah.
people who focus on their craft and do it, And
Yeah.
I would put you in that echelon. I would put you in, I would put like people like Jen and like
I
Daniel.
appreciate you. I
Yeah,
totally thought you were
I would
gonna
put
put me in the
no, no,
self-published.
no, I'm talking about the self-published, the stuff that is just like, I wrote a book, bam,
No edits,
No,
no formatting.
right, right. Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
definitely put you in that category of the no
Good.
edits, no
That's
formatting,
that's where I'm at.
terrible covers, all that stuff. Yeah, that's where I
That's
would put
how I
you.
feel, so it's totally good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like, so the 1% is of the people who are actual authors,
And they're
actual
fighting tooth and
writers.
nail to put the
Right,
best version of that
right.
that story out
And
there.
still of those, only 1%. Less than 1% because
Yeah.
it's literally like it's one in like 4 billion or something, like, it's like it's a
It's
ridiculous.
crazy
Yeah.
because the pandemic
Yeah.
pushed everybody. What did they call it? They called them pandemic writers,
Sure. Yeah.
where everybody decided, "I'm suddenly an author,"
Yeah.
and they've never written a book, never written a
Right.
story, a poem, nothing in
Right.
their entire life, and
Right.
decided to write,
Right.
and then published it without any experience,
Yeah.
idea, editing, anything, and then so all of that has saturated the self-publishing
And
industry.
it's the same thing with the podcast
Yeah.
world. Pandemic hit, everybody's a podcaster.
Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and it's like, there's
Right.
not enough pie to go
There's
around.
not enough pie anymore.
No, no.
It's just there's not. So I
What was I gonna say?
no, go ahead.
Well, what I was gonna say, I was gonna turn back to that comment about the more books published, the more
Yeah. Yeah.
successful, and these authors that are just pushing out book after book, thinking
Yeah.
that that's the key to success. There is an author that I follow, and if this
It's
is
me, isn't it?
it
It's me.
is.
It's me. Aw.
I didn't wanna
Aw.
say
Yeah,
anything.
it is me. It's me.
I didn't.
Uh,
But this is why we need a writing podcast, and
exactly.
we literally just need to have these moments. Like,
Yeah. There is something there. I mean, just the banter and the since we're in it,
we know
and
it.
yeah, yeah,
We know
yeah,
it. So,
yeah,
anyways, what I was gonna say is this author, and I'm not gonna say her name.
yeah,
She and I know she puts a lot of effort into the covers and stuff like that. I have
yeah.
no idea the quality of her writing.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I stumbled on a post where she was basically saying how disappointed she is in the fact that she doesn't have a lot of readers. She hasn't been successful in her eyes as an
Sure.
author,
Sure.
and how she's just expected more out of this. And this is just, BS and blah, blah, blah. Like, she wrote this, and I was just like, whoa. That was like an intense post, like basically like blaming the world that
Le-
you're
le-
not famous.
legitimate feelings. I understand.
I
I
get it.
understand.
Don't
But
post it.
right.
That's a
And
You will segregate your readers faster than anybody else on the
right.
planet.
Right. And step back and analyze those feelings and where they're coming from.
Right.
What is knee jerk reaction, what is emotion, what is all this stuff, separate all that first,
Mhm.
and then you can post something. Wow, is anybody else feeling this? This is hard, this is a
Yeah,
tough game, this is
self-publishing
the
isn't easy.
yeah,
Lead with that.
yeah, you can get into all that, but yeah, you definitely
Don't attack the world
can't attack, yeah, you can't attack the world, you can't
because
attack
the
the people that
readers are gonna feel pinpointed.
and
That's
the only people that are seeing that are her readers.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, out of curiosity, though, I pulled up her books,
Mhm.
and I would say the majority of them have a decent number of reviews for
Yeah.
somebody that has self-published.
Sure.
I've noticed that the faster she publishes, the less reviews she's getting, which
Yeah.
I thought was interesting because
That's
she's over
interesting.
here
That's
pushing
interesting.
out. She's pushed out like 3 books this year, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Dude, slow your
Yeah.
roll, man."
That is very interesting.
And so,
Huh.
but they went from like her earliest works, which I know for a fact were very quality taken time because
Mhm.
I've been following her since day one.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so, like, her and I connected very early on, and I've watched her publish these books after months and months and months and months of work.
Yeah.
And they have a good reading and reviews and
Yeah.
following.
Yeah.
And then in the last year, it's like everything plummeted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it because of one, what you're posting?
Yeah.
Is that only one of many posts that you're doing where you're attacking the world?
True. True.
Two,
True.
what is the quality of your work?
Right.
Are you pushing out work in a desperate attempt to hit that magic number?
Right.
But because of that, your quality is decreasing
Yeah.
and you're not spending enough time engaging anymore. I
Right.
mean, there are so many factors involved. And I
Yeah.
just couldn't help but wonder,
Yeah.
like, what that magic number, and then kind of going back to our original conversation about there's a fine line of producing work and
Right.
making sure it's high quality
Right.
enough that it stands on its own.
Right. Because I mean, and if you do produce a ton of work,
Yeah,
but it ends up being, I don't think anyone we know could write the level of crap that is saturating the marketplace right now.
I agree.
I think everyone we know is above that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if your quality starts to dip at all, and you start even dipping a toe into that murky water, it's much easier to get pulled down than it is to be elevated.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
yeah.
I agree.
So
It's a fine line, man. You got to be careful, and I feel like people aren't. And
no,
be
and
careful
it's
what you
just
post.
and look, I mean, the game is just it's just a gnarly game, and when you start that's why I stopped. That's why I stopped, and that's why I stop often. Is because anytime I get concerned with numbers, I step back.
Yeah, because you're like, oh crap, I'm
Yep.
falling into the trap.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because I know unless I win the lottery, the publishing lottery, unless I do that, Sarah J. Maas or whoever, any of these people that have gotten their big deal, unless, and that is literal needle in the haystack. Unless I happen to be that needle, then I'm just doing this as a hobby and for fun.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
And so that's the approach you have to
You
have.
have to have it. You
You have to
have to
have
have
it.
that.
And that's
You
why
can't.
I refuse to look at numbers. I get the
Yeah.
emails, like I told you. I get
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
reports every month that say, "Hey,
Yeah.
royalty payout, royalty payout."
Right.
And I'm like, "Congratulations." Delete.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it's not healthy for
Right.
me because I know it's just a hobby.
Yeah. And see, I never worry about that with urban legends. Like I feel that I did a good thing. Like
You did. It's
yeah,
a
people who read
stellar
it
book.
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's like cool. It's cool stories. Like I did a good thing, and it's
Yeah.
good. And that's that. Have I still outsold every single person? Yeah, probably 5 to 7 fold.
I
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe it.
And
Yeah.
do I never market it? Yeah, I haven't. I think I've done 2 posts on it in the last 3 years.
Dude, it's so true.
Yeah. I never, but it's just there because I know that's not my career. It's not
Right.
my, it's not. So when I get the urge or the time to write a second one, or whenever I get the urge or the time to work on that fantasy novel, which I did do a little bit of writing on it. I want to share it with you at some point, but it's great because there's I kind of took because it is high fantasy. There,
Yep. Yep. Best.
it's very Lord of the Rings esque.
Yes.
But I wanted to switch things up a little bit. So the dwarves, there are wood dwarves, and they're more like gnomes, but they behave much like elves would, except for they're short and stocky, and
Okay, I love
and
it. I love
not
it.
lithe. They're not nimble. They're not, they're like they're stocky little clumsy dwarves, but they're in the woods, and they live in the woods, and they live in the trees. Anyways,
Yes.
they can commune and communicate through the trees. So if they have their hand on a tree,
Oh, I love
anyone
magic like that.
anyone throughout the forest can hear what they're saying through the trees.
Yes.
And and their dialect is I kind of worked on my own dialect, like dropping the A's and making the A's more like an I sound and things like this. So
Okay.
I worked all that out. Anyways, there's this hilarious conversation when my two introduction protagonists enter the woods. There's a bunch of these wood gnomes talking to each other, and like, you know, like, should we kill them? I don't know. Should we? What are they? You know, I wonder what they taste like. But the conversation between all these different gnomes all over the woods through these trees, and like it's a game of telephone. And since their dialect isn't so good, anyways, like the dialect keeps getting messed up. So like one person's like, no, let them pass, and the other person's like, let's eat them. And so then it comes to like it is hilarious. Like it, I just kept writing and laughing the entire time because like it's so good. But the reason is because their dialect is bad because they're gnomes. They should be in the mountains, but they're in the woods, and the trees are trying to decipher what they're saying. And it's like it's literally a game of like magic telephone that gets messed up.
That is so
It's
clever.
really good. It's really good. Like I was really happy with it.
Yes, please send that to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Please
It's
send
a
that
lot
to
of
me.
fun. It's a lot of fun.
That just makes
So,
my soul so happy.
dude, and like, dude, it's so okay. Spoiler. Uh,
Spoiler.
Only because even when I do write it, you'll probably never read it. Although you'll give me a 5-star review, but you'll probably never read
No,
it.
let me tell you, that is a book I really want to
No,
read.
if I do end up writing this, I'm sure you will read it.
And I
But
say that because most fantasy sucks these days. And to hear like a
correct. Can you say
true
can you say that again?
most most fantasy sucks.
Yeah, yeah,
So to be able to pick up a book that is so true and like true to those elements,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Like, oh
yeah.
my
I know.
gosh.
I do think a lot of people will like it. So the main character throughout the entire book is this character named Stren, and he is anyways, he was always on the outside. He was raised by this old retired earth magic user, and they live on a farm. That's where the water thing that's seen that. Anyways, and they go into town all the time. Anyways, well, Strin has befriended Iliadora, and I can't remember the prince's name, but two high royalty people about his same age. So every
Okay.
time he goes in there, and throughout his entire childhood to young adulthood, um, and he's real good friends with the prince. They even the prince taught him how to fight, things like this. And he is in love with Iliadora, but Iliadora is betrothed to the prince, and
Oh,
so there's this triangle, and it's like unrequited love because Stren loves her, but she belongs to another, that classic cliche story. But
classic.
anyways, so when hits the fan, and there's some crazy stuff, like, but anyways, long story short, your hero Stren, the hero the entire time, when shit hits the fan and there's the first major battle in his castle, Stren ends up dying. The main character, the main character gets killed, and the actual protagonist is Iliadara, the princess, and she is the ass kicker of the book.
Why did that just give me full body chills?
Dude,
Like I just
it's so good because like probably for like 8 chapters, Stren is your guy. Like Stren is Harry Potter. Stren is Luke Skywalker. Stren is whoever. Stren is Bilbo. Stren is,
oh
and
my
so it's like, oh, this is Stren's story. This is
god.
Stren's story. This is crazy. Bam, he dies. Iliadora is the main protagonist.
Dude, that's
So
effed up, man.
yeah, it's dope.
You're gonna
It's so
traumatize your
good.
readers 8 chapters in.
Hardcore, like hardcore.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's
So the
gonna be
guy
rough.
I read about
Yeah, he
with the
dies.
sink,
Yeah, he dies.
that's effed up, dude.
Yeah, yeah, and they're
That's
young. They're like
messed up.
they're like 17 years old, and so it's really cool because like so there's this star speaker, and she's like she's like a badass. She's like so she can actually call to the stars and have them crash down, or she takes her. And anyways, there's these soul
That is
stealers.
power, dude.
Yeah, dude, it's real power. So anyways, like, so in like chapter 2, there's this gigantic battle on a mountain. So people in the village just look up, and like these mountains are exploding. Well, it's her fighting a soul stealer. Like so it's like apocalyptic battle, but it's basically just two people fighting.
I
Yeah,
love it. Like,
it's epic.
honestly, this world is so
Dude,
cool.
it's real good. And like so she ends up beating the soul stealer, but she's almost dead. She's like she's broken. She's almost dead. And then the two my favorite characters in the book, Canty Rand and Festy Rand, they're like swindler salesmen. So they're going through the mountains to get to the castle where of course Strand and Iliadara and the entire story takes place. And they come across, they had seen the explosions and they come across this star speaker who's basically dead. They bring her back to life. Star speaker doesn't have any memory. They bring her to town. It's the fan. The star speaker doesn't know which battles, which side to fight with. Her and Iliadara hook up. They end up, escaping. Dude, it's epic. It's a classic fantasy. It's
That's
classic fantasy.
classic. I
Yeah,
mean, I literally
yeah,
take my money.
yeah. It's good. It's and that's only like the first 9 chapters. There's 37 chapters. Yeah, dude. So
Only
like
the first 9 chapters.
yeah. So basically, what I did is I tried to make an entire story in the first act. And then what you think is the entire story totally flips. And then act 2 and act 3 are the real story.
Oh, dude, that, like, makes
Yeah.
my soul so happy.
Yeah.
Like,
And what's really cool is in the epilogue, or I'm sorry, in the prologue, there's 2 men in shrouded capes. You don't know who they are until the very end of the prologue. But there's a woman lying dead and naked in a bed of grass, and she's holding 2 babies. Their
yeah.
umbilical cords are still attached. She had just given
Yeah.
birth, and she had died in birth. And there's a really cool line that Adamus says to Stren's father, Chastrick. But he says something like, uh, even in the act of death, she still provides life because the babies are suckling.
Oh god, that's like
Yeah, so they're suckling, getting milk, getting life sustenance from their dead mother who just died giving birth to them. So it's pretty gnarly. But then one of the babies starts being really sick and really, you know, and so Chastrick freaks out and runs to it, and the baby's gonna die. Adamus is like, yeah, this one, he points to the healthy one, was taking nutrients from this one through the entire pregnancy, blah blah. So Chastrick begs him to do something. So he casts a spell, taking the heart of the healthy one and separating it using some pieces of earth and putting that into the sick one. And he says, now these two can't be together because then the magic will draw on each other and kill them both. So Chastrick ends up taking the one boy away, so that boy is not royalty anymore, and the healthy boy ends up going back to the castle. Well, that's Stren and the Prince, although no one knows that.
oh
No one knows that. So the way Stren actually dies is Adamus, who is Chastrick's best friend and did this spell, basically takes the heart magic and puts it back in Stren and makes him sick again, and he dies. Crazy. It's real good, man. It's real good. It's good stuff.
holy crap, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you done with the story yet?
It's totally outlined, and normally I wouldn't outline, but something this epic.
You have to
Yeah,
organize
yeah.
your thoughts.
Because
You
then
have
there's this whole like subplot of like this dark goblin, and Adamus is basically taking over after he kills Stren. That's when the real story starts, and so he uses these goblins, and this goblin basically, long story short, he has a redemption arc where you think he's dead at the end, but then the epilogue shows him in this. It's a flying boat. It's basically a ship that has a bunch of balloons and propellers on it. But anyways, it shows him flying off, and he's holding the magic heart. And so that's how it ends, and nobody knows if he had a redemption arc and he's going to resurrect Stren, or if he's working for Adamus still. But
Are
throughout
you okay? First off, are you gonna resurrect String?
no, he's dead.
He's
No,
dead.
yeah, he's dead.
Okay,
Yeah.
I said
But
that
there
about
is
one
but there is
character,
a
but
use
he's
there.
alive
Yeah,
now.
there is a use for the heart.
There is.
Yeah. Anyway, so all that to say, I'm not rushing that story.
No, you shouldn't.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah.
and it needs, even if it takes me another 10 years to put out.
I love the thought, and this is what defines quality versus quantity, is just the amount of thought that goes into a story. And, taking your time and really fleshing out those details, the world building,
Yeah,
the character motives, I mean, all of it.
yeah,
And just being able to understand these characters through and through before that finished product.
right, right.
People don't get that anymore.
No, no, they just think it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just like putting out straight to video, or straight to what do they call it back in the day? When there was Blockbuster, it was straight to the shelf movies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But movies that don't go through Hollywood, they don't go through whatever. They're just straight to video,
They are. And it's
and
really
they're always
frustrating.
trash. They're
They're
always
always
trash.
trash.
Yeah, and so it's just
There's
to make a
yeah,
big buck and put out the next one, and make a big buck and put out the next one.
right. And it's just
That's what cranking out multiple stories before they're done is.
that's exactly. And
Yeah,
so many authors are doing that now because they're chasing that number.
right.
And I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
No,
It doesn't.
right.
I mean, yes. Have I seen more success now with the trilogy done
Oh
than I
yeah, yeah,
have
sure.
ever?
Yeah.
Like, it's freaking, I'm like, what the heck
Yeah,
happened?
but I think
Yeah.
you had a good point. You brought it up like last week or the week before, but that when people see trilogy, they say, "Oh, cool, bam!" I can pull that. I can have
Yeah.
that whole trilogy. Whereas they see first in a trilogy and the other one hasn't even come out. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna have two years before I
Yeah.
get this."
They might save it to their wish list, but they're
Right,
not touching it.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think the only author ever that I've maybe a couple, maybe like Terry Pratchett, but Ari Salvatore is because I know his story and I know when the next ones are coming out. So even if it's if it's part of a trilogy or whatever, I know it. So I'll do that. But I think that's the only
Yeah.
one ever.
Yeah. I don't even know. You know what? I haven't read in so long, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I haven't either. I hate it. I have not. This is still here from what did I show you this 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, dude,
It's
that was
it's
like a
still
minute
still
ago.
here unopened. Haven't even cracked it yet.
Dude, I feel that deep in my soul. I'm like,
Yeah,
people who was just talking to me, they're like, "Oh, have you read that?" I was
yeah.
like, "No,
No.
bro. I can't even finish an arc I started 7 weeks ago."
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
physically cannot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when I am deep in the throes of
Yeah.
writing my work,
Yeah.
I will not pick up fantasy.
Correct.
Like,
Correct. Yeah, you
I
can't.
won't
You
even
can't.
get close to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't, like, sci-fi is the closest I get, and that's probably
Yeah.
why I'm so into sci-fi now, because it's a
Yeah.
world genre I've not written.
Yeah.
It's got
Right.
elements I can't
Right.
necessarily predict, but
Right.
it's new to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's very hard for me to pick up a fantasy book.
Kind of like when you're a magician
Yeah.
and you know all the secrets, you
Yeah.
aren't
As enamored.
you know how everything's done.
I told somebody just the other day, like, I've taken a significant step back from engaging
Yeah.
and being active on the socials. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I post and I literally run. Like,
Yeah.
you will not hear from me for
Yeah.
hours and hours.
Yeah.
Like, somebody was like reaching out to me. She's like trying to send me play by plays with her development edits, but she's like sending me these play by plays. And I'm like, bro, I'm not. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I literally will see these messages come through and
Yeah.
just go like 24 hours, 48
Oh yeah.
hours without replying.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's nice. It's freeing.
It's like, no, I saw it. I just didn't respond to you.
Yeah. No,
You know?
that's my thing. Like, people, and this wraps back down to the conversation
Sure.
we had last week, but it's
Yeah.
people just think you live for their problems.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm going to stop.
Right.
I'm going to put some boundaries. I'm not going to reply to you at 9:30 at night on a
No
development
way.
edit question anymore.
Right. Right.
I'm not going to reply to you about any random question outside of
Right.
a certain time of day,
Right.
because you will wait.
Yeah.
I have a life too, and I
Right.
need separation.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not your PA. I'm not your,
No,
yeah, it's
exactly.
like
Do you want
it's
me
like
to post for you too?
right, right. I'm not
No,
gonna do your work for you.
you shouldn't. You
Yeah.
shouldn't.
So
Boundaries need to be made.
yeah. And they I think people have just gotten way too used to people catering to them, and it's like, dude, cater to yourself.
Bro.
Do your due diligence and do what's right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not gonna push your stuff. Why would I?
No. No.
I,
That
in a couple I don't know, a couple months ago, I did a huge deep dive into a ton of other indie publishers, and some of them are monstrous. They have like 200, 300 books out. Of course, I
Oh my
go,
gosh.
oh yeah, it's insane. And then I go to Amazon to look at them. Each one has like one review.
The AI publishing those?
I don't think so, but I think they're just pumping out just anything that comes in,
Yeah.
right? And I see all these one reviews and the 5-star reviews. It's probably mom. Oh, that's your mom. That's your sister. That's yeah. So I see all this, but even on the ones that are doing really well, but even them, most of their books only have like 30, 40 reviews a piece.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But they don't do continuous promotion on their authors. They release, if they're doing an arc, they release arc information, and then they release information.
Yeah.
That's all a publisher does.
Well, I was gonna say, now that you bring that up, I follow Wicked House Publishing.
Uh-huh.
They're a
Yep.
horror
Yes.
publishing
Yeah. I
house.
think I follow them. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do the same thing. They'll announce
Yeah.
when they have a new author. They
Good.
announce when they have a cover release, right? Like, here's our cover for this
Right.
book.
Right.
Pre-orders are live or something like that.
Yeah.
And then release day.
Yeah. And that's it.
And yeah. What?
Oh, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Dude, that's nuts.
But I should just tell everybody to F off and go finish that fantasy story.
You obviously should.
Yeah.
I totally support you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun to get it finished. And
You
I didn't even tell you all the dude. So there's a main path from the sea that leads up to the castle, and it's on both sides. It's surrounded by these mountains, and eventually those mountains go into a long mountain range. So,
Yeah.
but basically, and that's where the battle takes place. So people see all the explosions in the
I
mountains.
love it.
But anyways, it's on both sides. It's surrounded by, and so you walk up to the castle, and it's like a mile from the sea, and there's mountains on both sides. Well, this mountain path is called the Stone Guard,
Yeah.
and it's basically, there's a bunch of stone carvings of like golems and giants and things, and they're carvings that are carved into the mountains. Well, there's a scene where Adamus, becomes powerful enough. Anyways, he awakens these, and these are actually elementals. So they actually come out of the mountains. And dude, like, the battles are of epic proportion. Like, there's like,
Oh
like,
my gosh. I love true battles. Like, when
dude,
you take
like,
time and you
right.
you sketch
Like,
those out. Like,
there's like ballista, and there's
yeah.
like, I mean, it's epic battles. And there's this one
dude.
scene where so Iliadara and her group of people that she has collected throughout her flight, her escape,
Yeah.
they come back to the castle because they're gonna avenge Strin and kill Adamus.
Ooh.
Is the plan.
Whoa.
But yeah. But Adamus has ended up taking control of the Soul Stealers, which are the only people powerful enough to battle the Star Speaker, which is so he has control of them. I have this crazy scene where Festirand, one of the Rand brothers, he ends up getting cornered by one, and he knows there's no way he's going to beat this thing. But he's gonna go down swinging because everybody's dying around him. Like, the whole party is like getting wiped. And anyways, it's a slow-mo, like, fly on the shoulder scene of what a soul stealer actually does. And so it actually goes to Festirand dying, getting clubbed, getting broken, getting killed. But the soul stealer absorbs his essence, his soul, and it goes from Festirand's point of view, from him dying, then to him suddenly having eyes, and he's seen Iliadara, he's seen the Star Speaker, he's seen all these people fighting and dying, but he's seen it from inside the Soul Stealer, and he realizes that his hell, his forever place now, is inside the Soul Stealer. And then he starts looking around, and he starts seeing a bunch of other souls, and they're all in anguish, and they're all, dude, it's a brutal scene. It is a brutal scene. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, it is, and I don't know if you feel the same, but when it comes to battle scenes and those real raw moments in battle where you slow everything down.
Yeah.
It's a hard skill to come by.
Yeah. And that's what R.A. Salvatore, I mean, he's been writing since 81, I think.
Yeah.
I've been reading him since then, but he does amazing battle scenes.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I've had I mean, I've read quite a few battle scenes from other fantasy writers, and I'm like, this has no honor
Yeah.
to a true battle scene
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
have that main character and you have just the number of elements that are
Right.
being introduced all at once
Right.
with all the emotions and rawness and
Right.
just
You
then the
have to slow
logistics.
that down. You
And you
have to.
have to, like,
Yeah.
let it breathe. Like, you can
Yeah.
have those good moments where it's like, okay, deflect, fight,
Right.
whatever.
Absolutely. And even
But
if you have to go watch a martial arts movie, or if you have to go take a class, go take a martial arts class, go take a sword playing class.
yeah, it's like
Learn
people
that stuff.
underestimate the value of a battle scene,
Yeah.
and
Oh
it's
yeah.
I'm like, you
Yeah.
can't rush over something like that. That is
No.
such a major arc for a
Yeah.
fantasy story. Like,
Right.
holy crap. Like, I've
Yeah.
had so many people reach out to me that are like, "Can you please review my battle scene?" Because they've read my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, sure. And then
Okay.
I read it and I'm like, you can't have a literal territorial king who's going to be king after battle in
Yeah.
2 sentences.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
there was one I read. I was like, I just raged. I was like, literally 3 sentences.
That's crazy.
I was
No,
like, do
dude,
you know what
could be
to
like
do?
4 chapters, then like a small chapter of what's happening to Homeboy across the world, then come back to it. Like it could be like
I
it
mean,
could be
you're
like this
talking
long.
massive stuff here.
Right. Right.
And that's where it's like, it's so much. I love battle scenes.
Oh
I
yeah. Yeah.
love
When they're
battle
done right,
scenes.
yeah. Yeah.
I love writing them. Like,
Yeah.
I have so much fun
Yeah.
just getting down deep and down, like, into the
Yeah.
logistics, how
Yeah.
everything, the army, the
Right.
ballistics,
And
cannons,
being
whatever.
horror readers and horror writers, not that you have to get gory with battle scenes, you can if you want, but in horror, being visceral and being intentional and being descriptive is very important.
It is.
So you can take that skill
Yeah.
and put it into a battle scene. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to be gory, but
No.
being intentional and being specific and slowing it down and giving
And
that
how your like, who your character is, right? Like, if
right.
you have a character that Morai, for example, my
Yeah.
guy, he is a bastard and he
Yeah.
loves it. And
Yeah.
so you really can tell the tone of a battle scene based on his fighting style,
Yeah.
based on how he observes everything going on around him.
Right.
Everything. And
Yeah.
then, Syra might be completely different.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like then you can take in an entirely different tone of that battle scene. It's
Right.
just like, I love battle scenes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I do
love
too.
them.
I do
I
too.
love them.
I didn't know. I mean, of course, I know because I've read all your books. I've reviewed them, but I didn't know you did intentional battle scenes. So
Oh,
that's
I
good.
do, and
Yeah,
I slow that baby down. It's
yeah,
like,
that's
it is
good.
a major moment.
That's good.
Anything, like, even at the end of book 2, Morai goes out. I have no idea if you read the book, so it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
but
right. Okay. I haven't. I haven't. I mean,
that's totally
let's be
okay.
honest. I
Yeah.
reviewed it. Five stars, man.
Oh, this is fantasy done right?
Yeah, this is fantasy done right. I think that was quote.
It was,
Yeah,
I've used it. It's so funny because I totally feel you.
yeah,
But at the
yeah.
very end, so c and this okay, battle scenes are just as important as the character development. It's like,
Oh
you
yeah.
cannot rush fantasy, true
No,
fantasy.
you can't.
And
You
so
can't.
you have this character, Morai, who's gone through 2 whole ass books trying to
Yeah,
prove his value and loyalty to his own citizens,
yeah,
and they outright betray him at the end of the 2nd book, and they
yeah,
just turn on him, his counsel, everything.
yeah.
And he snaps. And after 2 books, it's justified because he's slipping. He's like trying
Right,
everything in his power to prove
right.
his loyalty to these people.
Yeah.
And at the very end, his chancellor, who was his almost like brother,
Hmm.
just goes, I can't protect you anymore. This is
Yeah,
done. We're done.
yeah.
And they think he killed the queen of another
That's
country.
my favorite
Yeah.
part. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I was like, I was like, oh my
yeah,
God. But he goes out in the final chapter of book 2, looks at all his citizens that are gathered in the city square because there is some bad crap going down in his
yeah,
city. And they're
yeah,
praying to these gods that he thinks are betraying him.
yeah. Right, right.
And he turns on them.
Yeah,
And it's just this really slow scene where everything in 2 books has come to that very moment.
it's
And he
awesome.
snaps.
And you
And
finished
it's
it in two sentences, right?
of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Of course. I
yeah,
mean, his final line is death sends her regards. I mean,
yeah. That's
we had
awesome.
that moment,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
just like, I that's where it's like when you slow down, that's a battle scene, even if it's a one-sided battle scene, like
Right.
Morai when he turns on his own people and
Yeah.
they can't protect themselves because
Right.
he's
It's a slaughter.
powerful.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
slaughter. And it's like
Yeah.
that can tell so much about a character, a tone,
Oh
a
yeah.
book, a
Oh
plot,
yeah.
everything.
Right.
But when you rush it, it says everything you need to know about the skill of the writer,
Right.
the story, the maturity of the story, the development of the world,
Right.
everything. I think battle scenes, those kind of scenes, and as you discuss with you're discussing yours, battle scenes are just as integral
Yeah.
as like the magic
Right.
or as
Because
the
if
motivation.
they weren't, why are they battling?
Exactly.
Right.
Like what is
Right.
this moment?
Right. It's like if you're gonna build up, which obviously a battle scene you're gonna build up to, and there's
Yeah.
a reason for it, and then if you don't if you don't do it justice,
Yeah.
why am I reading this? You know what?
Why?
Yeah.
What's the motivation?
Right.
What's the point?
Right.
Ugh, dude,
Go write a short story. You
please.
know, it's like, yeah. Well,
It's a religious experience for me. Battle scenes are very like
yeah. That's
they
awesome.
yeah, they're just
Yeah.
like I have a massive battle scene I'm doing in book 4 and I am like pumped. Like I have
Awesome.
taken 3 books to get to this one.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and it's going to be
Yeah.
the biggest yet where it's
That
just like
yeah.
and we're
That's
going to have
awesome.
ancient beasts that show up and I'm like, "Oh,
Yes.
oh,
And then for book 5, I'll finally be done with mine, and we'll do a crossover. We'll do a
no.
crossover where where all of your people suddenly somehow get warped into my
Dude,
world and they meet my people.
and then yours come into warped into
Yeah.
my world. I wonder
Yeah.
how that would go actually.
Terribly.
Terribly, terribly,
Terribly.
terribly.
It would go terribly.
Yeah.
Speaking of terribly, we have ranted for an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was awesome.
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah, it was I mean, shoot. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe we should just make this the podcast.
I honestly I feel like that the scene discussing fantasy.
Yeah.
Bro,
From our bitching to our praise of each other to our discussion of battles. Okay, we hope you enjoyed the episode. We hope you got something out of it, whether it was a chuckle, a giggle, a guffaw, or maybe even a bit of information. And until next time, remember, you are not alone.